Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
That counterintelligence probe yielded no evidence of any collusion on the part of the president, or maybe anybody else, for that matter. This probe, from the nature of the questions and everything else we know, has again yielded no evidence of collusion. There's a good reason why. It never took place.
Are you concerned? This was supposed to be about Trump campaign Russia collusion.
Gone.
It's gone. Okay. Never happened.
He's been cleared of
So,
that.
Mike,
Is it still the position of you and your client that there was no collusion with the Russians whatsoever on behalf of the Trump campaign?
Correct.
Well, Sean, that's absolutely true. I mean, the reality is there was a quote put out by a source close to Manafort that the plea agreement has and the cooperation agreement has nothing to do with the Trump campaign. Quote, there is no evidence of collusion. Now, I know that because I've been privy to a lot of facts I can't repeat, but the reality is no evidence of collusion. All you have to do is look at the plea. The plea is to crimes that have to do with Manafort's past, no involvement with President Trump, no involvement with the campaign, no involvement with Russia.
All right, then. So Rudy Giuliani is on the record multiple times in that little short clip of saying that the all the investigation that has happened so far, all of it, and he's privy to it, he says, shows absolutely no collusion on the part of anybody in the Trump campaign. All right.
The amount of false reporting about this case is despicable.
Mr. Mayor,
It's
false
despicable.
reporting is saying that nobody in the campaign had any contacts with Russia. False reporting is saying that there has been no suggestion of any kind of collusion between the campaign and any Russians. Because now you have Paul Manafort giving poll data
I
that
never
winds
said-
up leading to this coincidence.
Well, you just misstated my position. I never said there was no collusion between the campaign or between people in the campaign.
Yes, you
I have not. I said the President of the United States. There is not a single bit of evidence the President of the United States committed the only crime you could commit here, conspired with the Russians to hack the DNC.
First of all, crime is not the
day-
bar of accountability for a president. It's about what you knew,
Well, he didn't
what
collude
was
with
right
Russia
and
either.
what was wrong, and what did you deceive about.
The
Those are going to
president
be
didn't
major
deceive.
considerations.
The president did not.
He said
collude
nobody had
with
any
the Russians.
contact. Tons of people
Whatever
had contact.
collusion
Nobody
is.
colluded. The guy running his campaign
He didn't say
was
nobody.
working on an issue
He
at the
said
same
he
time as the
didn't.
convention.
He said he didn't. He didn't say nobody. How would you know that nobody in your campaign?
He actually did say that, Rudy. He said
Well, I never
nobody,
said
and then
that.
he said, as
And
far
if
as I
he said
know.
that, he said it in a. Well, as far as he knows, that's true.
The lying is endless. It's just freaking endless because Trump has said, wow, this sounds weird. Do you hear that? Like, really, Tenny? Yeah, well, Trump has said multiple times, over and over and over again, that there was no collusion in the Trump campaign.
Well, again, John, there has been no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russians, or Trump and Russians. No collusion. When I watch you interviewing all the people leaving their committees, I mean, the Democrats are all running for office and they're trying to say this, that, but bottom line, they all say there's no collusion. And there is no collusion.
They all say.
And when you talk about interviews, Hillary Clinton had an interview where she wasn't sworn in.
Oh, my God.
She wasn't given the oath.
Yes, because
They didn't
lying
take
to the
notes.
FBI is a crime.
They didn't record, and it was done on the 4th of July weekend. That's perhaps ridiculous, and a lot of people looked upon that as being a very serious breach, and
Of
it really
what?
was. But again, I'll speak to attorneys. I can only say this: there was absolutely no collusion. Everybody knows it. Every committee. I've been in office now for 11 months. For 11 months, they've had this phony cloud over this administration, over our government, and it has hurt our government. It does hurt our government. It's a Democrat hoax that was brought up as an excuse for losing an election that, frankly, the Democrats should have won because they have such a tremendous advantage in the Electoral College. So it was brought up for that reason. But it has been determined that there is no collusion, and by virtually everybody. So we'll see what happens. But again, would you be open to? We'll see what happens. I mean, certainly I'll see what happens. But when they have
Yeah,
no collusion and nobody's found any collusion at any level, it seems unlikely that you'd even have an interview.
Okay, so that's just one example of the president's long-ass press conference where he mentioned no collusion 10 times in less than 2.5 minutes. And, of course, now we found collusion. What we have found is that Paul Manafort was selling, through a Russian intelligence operative named Konstantin Kilimnik, who Paul Manafort worked with forever in Kiev, that he gave proprietary internal polling to Konstantin Kilimnik for delivery to Oleg Deripaska, who our Treasury Secretary is now moving to undo sanctions on after we have proof that he was the intended recipient of internal proprietary polling so that the Russians would know exactly what states, what districts, down to the to the nitty-gritty, who to target in order to get people not to vote for Hillary Clinton. That's the collusion that has been discovered, okay? And what's really crazy is that Rudy Giuliani is probably just as guilty as the president because Rudy Giuliani was on the Trump campaign. Now, what is Rudy Giuliani's, crime with regard to rigging the election? Well, he went on Fox News and he clearly told everybody and their mother on the TV that the New York field office of the FBI, formerly dubbed Trumplandia, was leaking to him, and active agents were contacting him and James Kallstrom, the former field office director in New York, and telling them that they were sitting on Anthony Weiner's computer and not doing, except minimal forensics, just enough to determine that there were Hillary Clinton emails to Huma Abedin, Anthony Weiner's, wife, on that computer, and that they were sitting on it and that they would turn it over to James Comey 11 days before the election, and that would be their October surprise, that Comey would be forced to write a letter to Congress, which was promptly leaked by Jason Chaffetz, who's now a Fox News pundit, trashing the same FBI. I got to tell you, this thing is it's so bad. It's so obvious. It's fallen apart. It is happening. It is going on. And this interview last night, I don't know if you saw it or not, but I'm going to play you some longer clips because it is just breathtaking, the amount of lying that went on. Rudy Giuliani, now, backtracking, there was no collusion to collusion isn't a crime. Nobody on the campaign colluded. Now he's saying, I never said that. I'm backtracking. I'm saying, the president didn't collude. It's not good for Rudy Giuliani to backtrack because he steps in crap with every step he takes. What a mess his Gucci loafers must be. It's just gross. But last night, this man was off the hook. I mean, it's like consciousness of guilt. It's crazy. I mean, and he even told Gabriel Sherman at Vanity Fair that he hates this job. He hates doing this. But he has to do it. You know why? Because his hands are just as equally dirty on a different front, having to do with the Trump campaign rigging things. Michael Cohen, also an article today in the Wall Street Journal, mind-blowing, that Michael Cohen confirmed. He confirmed today. And you know what the article says? It says that Michael Cohen took a bag of cash with $12,000 in it and paid it to the chief information officer, the CIO of Liberty University, Jerry Falwell Jr.'s Liberty University, in exchange for this CIO of Liberty University rigging online polls at the behest of Donald Trump's campaign. They tried to rig the results of a Drudge Report online poll. to flip the results, and they also tried to get Trump into the top 10 candidates, during 2015. It seems like this man who works for Liberty University had a little information company that did this stuff. Like Brad Parscale was, walking around Barnes and Noble in Texas, tapping people on the shoulder, asking them, you want a website for $1,500? Now he's a multimillionaire, right? I mean, all this stuff went on. All of it went on. And the man from Liberty University, he confirms that he was interviewed by Mueller. Michael Cohen confirms that he did pay this guy and not the full amount owed. He only denies that it didn't go to him in a Walmart bag. He says he paid by check. Now, the bill was $50,000. Michael Cohen didn't feel like paying him $50,000. And so he only paid him $12,000 to $13,000 and pocketed the difference, like $38,000 Michael Cohen kept for himself. And you know that was in the charging document of Michael Cohen. Remember, we were like very suspicious of it because it said that he made payments to tech companies. Remember that? Yeah, and I didn't know, you didn't know, because they were never named. The tech company was never named. But now we know the name of the tech company. It's called Redfitch. And it's run by the chief information officer for Jerry Falwell. So no wonder the evangelical Jerry Falwell Jr. excuses the fact that Trump is a liar, bears false witness, that he's a philanderer, that he's a fraud, because he's dirty too. How many more compromised people are we going to come across? Here's the report this morning on CNN where it's confirmed, the Wall Street Journal report, that Michael Cohen did do this. He just disputes that he gave him a bag of cash from, in a Walmart bag.
Let me just walk you through the Wall Street Journal story.
Yeah, thanks.
It is reporting that in 2015, a man named John Gauger, he runs a tech company, as you said, Poppy, went to Trump Tower to collect $50,000 for work that he did for Michael Cohen to try to rig online polls for then candidate Donald Trump, who was running for president, so that he could have better poll numbers. Now, we don't know if that effort was successful, but this was the work that he says he performed for Michael Cohen on Donald Trump's behalf. Now, the story says that Michael Cohen handed over to John Gauger, this guy, a Walmart bag full of around $12,000 in cash. Now, Cohen, to the Wall Street Journal, denies that piece of the reporting, says that all monies paid to Mr. Gauger were by check.
Right.
So the cash bag part of this, Michael Cohen is denying. Now, Gauger goes on to claim in the Wall Street Journal that he did not get paid in full, that what was promised to him was the $50,000. But what the Journal is also reporting, and this is significant, is that in 2017, even though Michael Cohen did not pay this full amount to this guy who was trying to rig the online polls for Donald Trump, that Cohen still asked Donald Trump for the full payment of $50,000 and that he was paid this money. So again, just to emphasize, the headline from this story is that Michael Cohen paid this guy around $12,000 to $13,000, according to this person. And then 2 years later, he asked Donald Trump for more money than what he allegedly paid out of his pocket. And Poppy, according to that statement that you just read from Michael Cohen that we just got, all of this comes back to loyalty. Michael Cohen's defense now for a while has been that all of these things that he did that were, frankly, really sketchy, he did out of blind loyalty to Donald Trump. This is obviously going to be a huge, huge narrative that we see when Michael Cohen testifies in Congress next month.
Yeah, February 7th. And when we come back, I'm going to play you a clip of Rudy Giuliani on with Chris Cuomo last night, explaining to Chris Cuomo why, this isn't a crime. Like none of these things are crimes, right? So now you have Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's personal attorney, admitting that he was rigging polls and paying people less than they contracted for, which was in the charging document against Michael Cohen. You also have Paul Manafort giving internal polling information to Konstantin Kilimnik, a man with ties to Russian intelligence, destined for Oleg Deripaska, so that the Russian intelligence agencies would know exactly where to target their anti-Hillary information, their voter suppression information, right? You have that. And Rudy Giuliani is going to say, well, it's not obstruction unless you intimidate a witness. Go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.